Everybody. Thank you for joining us today on such a nice day when you probably be out enjoying the sunshine. But we have two presenters today and a number of discussion topics that we need to get to. So should be a good meeting. So we're going to start off with Adam from the Snow Angels and let him give us an update on what's happening there. Welcome, Adam, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Donna. Good morning, everyone. Is it all right if I share my screen?
Sure, go ahead.
Excellent. Okay. Can everyone see the Snow Angels logo?
Yes. Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So I want to start by thanking everyone for supporting Snow Angels. The City of Barrie has been an excellent partner, especially when it comes to producing a municipal starter kit, to introducing us to other municipalities, and just generally proliferating the service. So thank you so much for that. It's been incredible. My name is Adam Malamus. I'm the creative director of Simulink, which is the web development firm that developed the Snow Angels platform. And hopefully I can give you a little bit more background on where we are a few years later, how it started, and answer any questions that you may have. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Excellent.
All right. So Snow Angels Canada started as an experiment in kindness. It's a completely free platform that connects volunteers with older adults, people with physical or cognitive disabilities, or anyone in need. It was started by Lincoln McCardle, that guy, almost 7 years ago. Since then, we originally had started in London, Ontario, and have moved to over 50 municipalities and over 5,000 users. And that's with one person, Lincoln, running support requests. So it's been a great start, and we think that this platform has a lot more potential. The mandate of the platform, of course, is to strengthen neighborhoods by connecting people, and we've had over 10,000 requests with the platform, and we're hoping to see many, many more. Right now, we're seeing 2 volunteers for every client that signs up, which is great. And we're seeing a lot of high school students going into to work their hours, but also community influencers going in and organizing larger groups as well. So back to our point around the City of Barrie. Really, I would say you guys have been a model for what other municipalities can do as far as your social media presence, the connectedness, and also the general enthusiasm that we've seen for the platform. At some point in the future, I would like to discuss how we can continue that, and also what that looks like for other municipalities, both of equal size, smaller, and perhaps even larger as well. So that's it for my presentation as far as where we are now. Do you have any questions for me?
How do people really get to know your organization? The reason I ask is I noticed a comment on one of our Northeast group that has started up from someone who wanted to find someone to do snow removal. So what's the age group that you service and the client that basically your services look after?
So we don't provide any services. We're strictly a volunteer platform. So right. As far as the demographic that volunteers will service, it's those with physical disabilities or cognitive disabilities and older adults. Now, that being said, anyone can request help. We don't do any vetting on the platform for either volunteers or for those in need.
Okay.
There was a question that came through, I think, in one of the Facebook chats that was held on the City of Barrie platform. And the question was how to access if they don't have access if the senior doesn't have access to a website or to email. They were looking specifically for a phone number or some way to, another way to get in touch with the services, and that was a barrier to them.
That is our biggest gap right now. We don't have the personnel or the capacity to manage a phone number. What we've been advising when we do receive emails is that if people would like to post for neighbors, of course, check with them first, but we are relying on communities to support one another and neighbors to support one another in that instance. As I said, it is a gap, and it's something that Lincoln and I have discussed at length. And unless something changes fairly significantly, right now we're running with zero budget. And Lincoln, in addition to his full-time job, is running all support requests. In January, I saw, I don't know, must have been in the hundreds. And I'm thinking high hundreds for support requests. So when we talk about operating on a shoestring and really being an experiment in guidance, that's really where we're at.
Thank you.
Anne-Marie.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for the update. And I think Heather hit my main question, because I have had seniors who've called and kind of even triaged the need in and have heard about Snow Angels, but again, are not online. And so we have done some connecting through taking kind of a verbal consent to give the phone number to another resident and posting on a community board to say, we've got someone who needs help in this vicinity, anyone available, and then try to triage a connection that way. But with respects to, the great media, I think the broadening of awareness of Snow Angels, and maybe this is more of a collective question for the group. So I can't help but think of 211, right? So we've got that 24/7 live answer phone, multiple languages. Is that a partnership, Adam, that has the potential to be explored about how that can support individuals connecting to Snow Angels in some creative ways, with not necessarily taking over the platform, but also around how can they keep a log of individuals who are only available by phone? And then is there a volunteer at certain points of the season that can help to connect or identify what communities we've got seniors, and whether it's an outreach to senior centers or municipalities, how do we support reaching back out to those residents to make maybe a one-to-one connection?
That's a great question. We hadn't thought of a partnership with 201, but that makes a lot of sense. If I have to come up and be prescriptive, just off the top of my head, I would say that we could train their team on how to use the platform, and they can provide posts. And I think we have to take some care there as far as posting phone numbers. I'm a little weary of that, just knowing what I know about privacy and the fact that we're dealing with what could be a vulnerable population, right?
Sure.
So I'm open to exploring that partnership. I'm positive Lincoln would be as well. So if that's something that we could do sooner than later, I think let's have that conversation.
Yeah, I think, with respect of course, privacy, but is there a pathway there that there could be a conversation with 211 around at what level through calling in, does that protect the privacy? But is there a bank of, individuals by municipality, by phone number, who are consenting to then give it to maybe an identified contact on behalf of that community to at least identify supports? Because even if I said, I'll be your online contact, I don't know, and maybe you could identify what's the next step and how people get notified, because it's kind of a dark screen, right? You log in, but you don't know, do people get triggered to say, someone will contact back with you? Is there a timeline by which that connection happens? How many connections, when you're talking about the 2-to-1 ratio of volunteers to individuals, are successfully matched? So is there any other data there that identifies that the pathway about how people are either logging themselves as available to volunteer or in need of service, showing evidence of getting support?
Okay, so there's a bunch of questions there. First, how does one find support? So they log in, they're able to find volunteers and either reach out proactively or put their post. So very similar to, let's say, and forgive the parallel here, but like a Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji ad, and it's geolocated. Now, we do very rough geolocation, again, to ensure that privacy is respected. And in terms of tracking successful matches, we don't. We don't track any matches, again, due to privacy. So what ends up happening is the posting is put forward, it's connected to an email address. Some clients tend to put their phone number in that posting and they connect that way. Volunteers then go onto the site, check and see if there's anyone in their neighborhood, and respond via email as well. And that's how the connections are made. What we have found is that often when a volunteer finds a client or someone in need, they stick with that person for the season typically, and then they communicate off platform, which is our ultimate goal. The platform should only act as a catalyst. It's really there to strengthen communities and to have those conversations, and to make people aware that there's others in need. So I don't know if that's comprehensive as far as an answer to your question. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I guess I just say, I've logged as a volunteer, but have never gotten anything back. And so I didn't know how that worked or what happened around how the connections are made. So I'll look back on that. I am keen to see if there's a future next step that's valuable around, without breaching privacy. I would hope that there's a way in which, at least to identify a successful contact, not necessarily the who, but did you actually get a successful contact, and how many times did this individual support, just from a enhancement of being ambassadors of Snow Angels, and is this working, and are we directing people to something that is actually supporting them around a need?
I think that's something that we need to explore offline then, because you're right. It's we don't track successful matches, and to really give some significant consideration to privacy. I think that A, I would have to include Lincoln in that conversation as co-founders, and B, that I think we should sit down with council, or frankly anyone who you see fit. At this point, I would like to leave that with you and say we're absolutely enthusiastic about doing it. Let me know what next steps are, and we'll make it happen.
Thanks. Yeah, because it would be beautiful for us to say, hey, did you know 150 residents stepped up to volunteer, and this supported 50 people. There's no necessarily relationship there, but just some raw high-level metrics that don't even get into privacy after you get to a certain sample size, right?
We can pull postal codes. So if we have a list of postal codes, let's say for the city of Barrie, we can say how many volunteers and clients we have without actually giving out any kind of identifying information. And we've done that for other municipalities in the past. What we'd like to do ultimately is have catchments. And so what I mean by that is a group of postal codes put together and a label put on them. So let's say for London, Nancy 5Y, right? That's one neighborhood. And then we'd have a variety of others. And then the City of London, or an ambassador for the City of London, could log into their municipal portal and just get a very broad overview of some of the statistics. That's and also things like reports, complaints. We'd like to ultimately empower either an ambassador or cities themselves to be able to manage their catchment. But that's a conversation, and it tends to vary from municipality to municipality what level of involvement they'd like to have.
Yeah, no, that's great, Adam.
I have Paulette, who is calling in through the phone. She has her hand up for a question.
Okay, go ahead,
Hi,
Paulette.
Paulette.
Hello. I'm really sorry, but at this point, I don't have a question, but I've been trying to get in for the last 15 minutes, and that was the only way I could find out if I was actually in the meeting this time, was to raise my hand. I'm so sorry, but I missed the beginning of everything, but I'll continue listening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Adam. That was great information. I'm sure that it's an area that all of us feel is a benefit to our communities, and definitely we'll think on ways we can interact with you, with your organization, to maybe promote more individuals using the system and being able to be matched and helped. So thank you again. Any other questions before Adam? Anne-Marie?
Maybe just a quick comment. I noted 211, but the health line might be an appropriate space to advertise news, events, and resources. It is used as the 2-in-1 database, but it does have a nice public facing across Ontario. So depending on which community Snow Angels is operating in, you might want to leverage that around kind of free advertising that this is a community support service.
Yeah,
That's excellent.
one last question. How do you deal with people that have that are blind or are unable to? Is there a teletype on your Facebook page?
So our firm specializes in working with government agencies and nonprofits. So every site that we build is accessible. And so, for give you an example, with the Snow Angels platform, if someone is using a screen reader, it is fully optimized for that.
Okay, thank you.
And we are WCAG AA compliant.
Thank you very much. Molly?
Molly?
I'm showing my ignorance here, but how would I reach you?
Me personally?
Snow Angels.
Snowangelscanada.com.
Thank you.
or .ca. I will say that before the pandemic had hit, we had plans to do usability testing in person in Barrie. 2 years later, I am still fully committed to doing that. It's one of my favorite things about the work that I do. So hopefully once the apocalypse is over, I will be able to visit Barrie and conduct some user testing in person.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Nice
Thank
having
you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me today. If you do have any other questions, Brandy does have my email address. Please feel free to email me. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Perfect. Thank you again.
Wonderful.
Great.
Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
You
Take
too.
care.
Thank you, Adam.
Who?
Unfortunately, it seems our other presenter has not included herself in on the meeting today. I will definitely try and reach out to her to find out if we can secure her for a future meeting. But other than that, you guys have some discussion items. So I will sit back here behind my little screen, and I'm here if you need me.
Brandy, just before you go, and
Sure.
sorry to interrupt, Donna, but just with respects to Adam's comment about maybe coming to Barrie at some point in the future, I'm not sure if there's a follow-up with him, but I know the Service Barrie team does a great job at also promoting this, but I'm not sure if that's an audience that would benefit from connecting with him a bit more strategically around how we triage calls in and or what staff in Service Barrie are doing should a resident be calling and asking about how to get connected. Be interesting to see where that's going.
Yeah, well, what I'll do is I'll reach out to Service Barrie because I have seen their posters posted around City Hall. So I will definitely find out from them what kind of, basically what it is that they offer people that call in, what kind of information.
Yeah, they might have feedback for Adam and Lincoln.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I was wondering too if the senior centers in Barrie might have some comments about that, because depending on how many seniors use the senior centers that don't use computers, which would be interesting, it would be interesting to see if they have any recommendations or suggestions too. They're a great source. Thank you
Yeah.
again. Brandy, one thing, when people put their hands up, I don't know they're putting their hands up unless I physically see them. So
Yeah, I noticed that on the screen, it wasn't showing me hand was up, but at the same time, in a different screen that I have, I could see.
Yeah.
So currently I see Heather has her hand up.
okay, go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, thank you,
Sorry.
Donna. Yeah, Heather from the Parkview and Allendale 55 plus centers. Just a general comment with regards to access to online services with older adults. There certainly is a blend of users that have access to our 55 plus center programs and participate, that also participate in online programming or online resources. So just to answer that, I would say that probably the majority of our older adults have some familiarity, but not a comfort level with using online resources such as websites or other tools. And so that's why I asked that particular barrier. We have done quite an extensive amount of customer service program support for assisting our participants in registering for programs, online programs. So we do that either by telephone or in-person registration. So there's a significant support network that we have undertaken in the last 3 or 4 months when we moved to a daily or by program registration. Now that has finished, and as of today, we are finished with that type of pre-registration required. But it was an experiment, is what I'm saying, is during that 3 or 4 months when we used it, we had to provide a lot of additional support. So we instructed people to call the center and give us their name, their activity, and we, our customer service staff, registered them. For that reason, we had to add in additional supports for a customer service support, actually have more bodies answering phone calls and attending to the other health screening and the other screening and the other things that they do. So I would say that as just a general comment, that anywhere that folks can be supported, and I don't really see the 55 plus centers being able to do that other than providing the website. So it's not, I'm not recommending that our customer service staff start putting people into those portals, those other portals, because there are services out there like 211 that actually do that kind of work. And so it wouldn't make sense. Where we have supported is we have placed it in our newsletter, which is both online and when we opened up. So from November, December, January, February, and I believe it's in the March newsletter also. So we have advertised Snow Angels in on that, and that's also posted online in case another family member, a child or somebody like, sorry, just lost my, oh, okay. So just to quickly answer, yeah, there is a need for a telephone support, but the 55 plus centers would not be that appropriate tool. And I do recommend 211.
And my question wasn't that you would provide support, but that you might be able to get a sense through a survey or through some part of communication to see how many people would want to use the services if they had access to a computer.
Oh, that's an interesting question. Yeah. Survey tool that could very much possibly. I'd have to think about how to deliver that because if they don't already use online services, then we need to find another way to reach them.
Yeah, it's just curious because if there are other programs too that that seniors could use, and you have a lot of seniors in your facility, your different locations that can't access that through computers, maybe that is something we, as a Barrie, as a city, might be good to know. Anyway,
and to assist, yeah, that's potential. There's potential there. Some of the workings, how to work that out, would need a little bit of a thought. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, on to our mandate age-friendly plan and our media plan. So in order to develop a media plan, there were several things that I sent you information on in a little handout that we need to look at to ensure that it's up to date and that it would be the source that we would use in order to develop our media plan. I'd like to start off by talking about the age-friendly plan. Did everybody get a copy of the information that we sent out? We sent out a draft letter, and excuse me, I sent out a summary that I had sort of done up to see where the seniors items in the plan stood. And it was my assessment that there are quite a few items in the plan relating to seniors that were either labeled ongoing or that weren't looked at. So my question, and we can then open it up to discussion, is if we should be doing some form of a motion to request that the city reconvene the community committee. There was before, when the age-friendly plan was being developed, there was a committee that was formed that was more than the seniors committee. It was a number of individuals from the community that came together with the seniors committee to put this plan together. And I didn't know if that committee should be reconvened to actually look at this age-friendly plan and determine if some of these items should be looked at. So I'll open that up after to the committee and see what their feelings are on that, because there are still numerous things in this age-friendly plan that need to be looked at. And in our mandate as a seniors committee, that's one of the areas that's that speaks to the fact that the committee is supposed to be responsible for looking at and making available concerning opportunities to make the age-friendly plan available to the seniors in the community. And I don't know how that we can do that as a committee, and that it should be the committee's responsibility, because the age-friendly plan relates to more than just seniors. So I will open that up to the group. What is their feeling about the committee being responsible for the age-friendly plan?
Am I remembering correctly that we brought a number of people into the rotunda, and that we had sort of like a questionnaire, like we sat around, discussed, came up with ideas? Am I remembering that correctly? It was 2013, 2014.
When I go back and look at the original development of the age-friendly plan, and I got that off of online, but I could have sent it to you. There was a list of community members that were a part of the focus groups that developed the plan.
Yeah.
So, and you may have done a survey, you may have asked questions, but I guess the point I was trying to hopefully clearly help you understand is that it wasn't the seniors committee that actually was responsible for developing the age-friendly plan. It was their input to it that helped to develop some of the items that relate to seniors. So overall, it's not the seniors advisory committee that is totally responsible for the age-friendly plan. They're responsible for promoting or developing or helping to ensure that the things relating to seniors get accomplished and to speak to them. But it's not our responsibility to actually oversee the development and workings of the age-friendly plan. Comments?
So it's Lucia. Gwen, I think, are you referring to those community consultations that we had where we had a lunch and we had our consultant do a presentation?
Yeah, I think
right.
That was one of the things I was talking about, definitely.
And then we came up with numerous things, and then we discovered that they aligned with a lot that the city had already begun work on. And so then Cheryl would give us different updates on where we stood with each of those items. So many of our items, well, there were some items that we took off. There was one around getting, that we decided was really not in our bailiwick, which was around medical. Does that ring a bell? Like,
I need to go back and read my old minutes.
we had included that, and we had Dr. Biles come in as well. She was really keen on getting better, medical systems available for seniors, but that one we took off our list, so you don't see that on the age-friendly.
No,
plan.
health isn't part of the mandate.
Yeah, that's right.
So I
It
guess
was-
the main question I'm asking is, do you feel that the mandate of the seniors committee is to, what it says, concerning opportunities to make Barrie a more age-friendly community? Is that our responsibility? Our responsibility is to the seniors, but the overall age-friendly community plan, is that our responsibility?
I don't,
Anne Marie, and then, okay, Anne Marie, Molly, and then Pat.
So if I can share an observation, so my personal involvement in the plan was as a key informant back in the days, and I remember meeting with Molly about that and the surveys that went out. And then since, and having come here, I guess I would say I see it more as our responsibility as a committee to give comment to what's lagging or where the focus needs to be to ensure that that plan is not forgotten or continues to be included in how the city is designed. But we don't have controls around influencing necessarily the work effort or, some of those things we've already seen are tied into capital plans or tied into infrastructure development. And so it's good to know what's in progress and to kind of give an oversight so there's a mindfulness to the plan, but I don't believe we own it as a ability to influence the timelines or how that actually is completed.
Okay, Molly?
I recall that at the time, there were various groups designated to take responsibility for certain parts, certain service clubs. We were to look at the senior stuff, but my recommendation, we can go crazy considering this. I don't think it's our mandate, but I think Cheryl would know.
Okay, Pat? Can't hear you, Pat.
I'm just looking at the Seniors Advisory Committee terms of reference that was sent with your email or with the email that I just received regarding this meeting. And it doesn't say we're to represent and provide advice. That's all we do. It's not our mandate to be the person that makes any decisions. We're to provide advice only. And that's the feeling I've had in the 3 years I've belonged.
Okay, and Gwen, you had a comment?
well, we already received approval to become a World Health Organization age-friendly city. I know because we already received that designation. So I think we are just there to comment. I think we're there to keep them on track. I think that we're secondary now, but we're just sort of watching over to ensure that things we see might get addressed, or we could be helpful in having that happen.
Okay. So there are, in the age-friendly plan, and this is in my next question too, there are, from the summary that I had done, there are numerous items that affect seniors that are ongoing or that have not been looked at. So as a committee, my question would be, how are we going to get information on the current status of where these items are going? For example, engaged service users include seniors in transportation planning. It says ongoing, but it doesn't say how that's being addressed. So my concern is, how do we request, Anne-Marie, maybe you can help us, from the city that somehow someone look at this plan, and for the items that have not been completed, that are ongoing, that they get looked at and that the committee get a response back on what is happening in regards to them. How do we do
I would say, I think I agree with that. And it would be interesting to get the comment backs because we see different staffing resources or staff representation by various departments at other committees. We have felt a change to that to some degree around the staff member that had a bit of that continuity of the plan and oversight of the plan.
Mhm.
So I think it is, we're well placed to maybe identify that it has been a struggle to actually understand how we are supporting that plan and are in touch with the status. I think last time, maybe last year, when we asked, there was a comment about the plan is moving forward through 12 different initiatives tied into the city's capital plan or strategies. So it feels a little bit more arm's length to us than maybe it has in the past. So I would actually support or promote that there is an expression of the need for some type of dedicated focus around helping us make sure the next work plan for the term of this committee is informed based on a comment to maybe what you're putting forward, Don, all the work that you've done around the status of where we're at and what's outstanding. My only other comment is, I'm looking at City of Aurelia, and I'm not sure if everyone's on their laptops or maybe it's something to do after, but I know Aurelia, when I spoke to members of their age-friendly and seniors committee tied to the city, they had looked at us as a bit of a model around our plan and what we were looking at. And they have taken some pretty interesting steps forward, both through talking about the World Health Organization and the relationship to it, identifying a community engagement summary report. They're promoting a November 9th, I think it's from maybe last time, but workshop. So they are holding workshops, and I'm wondering if there is a conversation to be had with that committee to say, how have you moved forward in this direction? Living with the plan, but also doing outreach into your community. They also do have a dedicated age-friendly Aurelia email. And we talked about how do we get information and how do we invite people to give feedback around what matters to them and linking that to our plan in some way. Is it housing? Is it transportation? Is it navigation? And so they actually have an info at agefriendlyaurelia.ca. So I think there's even some things we can look at to say, how do we get in touch more with how people feel about the plan and what the needs are going forward?
I would agree. And Simcoe County is another good example because they have dedicated resources, or they have some way of connecting their age-friendly plan to their departments and their ongoing updating of that age-friendly plan. So to me, it has to be part of what the city engages in each of its departments to ensure that those departments give back feedback in their areas of responsibility where the age-friendly plan is concerned. And right now, I don't see that happening. Even in the planning, while there isn't a really a large emphasis on things relating to seniors, it's more, housing, it's areas of the city for development without a natural focus on the age-friendly plan or seniors in particular. So do we make a motion and go back? I think maybe that's our only way to look at it, is we make a motion requesting that the city, and who do we address it to, look at setting up someone to update the age-friendly plan and to determine how that plan will be completed, and going forward, what the long-range future is for the plan. So I think that would be the best, but then who do we send it to? Who do we address it to? Because it can't go to a specific department. Does it go to council? Does it go to?
So the motion would come up through to then Finance Reference Committee, who we report up to. and then
Okay.
it can be held. I don't sit on that one, but there could be maybe a motion or communication to the clerk's office around struggling to kind of see where that lands, because the resource that was connected to this committee had been redirected. And I don't believe there's nothing kind of that's replaced that specific to the plan.
Right.
So maybe it's starting with a comment that can get raised around a resource needed. I'm not sure if we want to start with the clerk's office there, because maybe it doesn't need a formal motion, but I think maybe it needs a formal expression.
Okay. So Brandy, can you help us out there? Would you be able to reach out and see who we would address that to, and what do you need from us in order to move forward with that?
Absolutely. I'll speak with Wendy. I have been in contact with her, trying to find out who, if anybody, has continued on with this, and I'm not having any luck. But at the same time, I could definitely ask those questions and see if there's some way we can get something going.
Okay, and then just put it on our agenda for the next meeting and bring back whatever the response is.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And if it turns out you are going to have a motion and stuff like that, if you wanted to let us know ahead of time, then hopefully we can get something prepared and have it all ready.
Okay, so if through what you find out that we do need to do something formal, then maybe we could talk about starting a motion that we can bring back to the committee for the next meeting. Perfect. Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much. Anybody else have a comment before we leave this subject? No? Gwen?
It was housing, transportation, and communication, I believe, that we were to focus on.
Civic engagement. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the communication, we have a budget of $2,000 a year. Can
Right.
we have like an attached website to the city of Barrie or something that we could put articles, links on, just all kinds of stuff that seniors might be very interested in?
Gwen, can we hold off on that point? Can you bring it back? We are going to have a meeting with a media person from the city to discuss the media plan. And maybe once we develop our media plan, we can look at the budget that we have and maybe use it as part of that media plan. And that might be what they recommend to us to do. So I think we need to work with the city to develop a media plan and find out what we can do, and that where the resources might be useful. And the other thing that we want to talk about at a future meeting is Seniors Month and whether we do something during Seniors Month. So would it be okay then if we held that till we develop our media plan? Okay, great. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about is an update on our mandate. So I'm not sure if anybody else would have a recommendation, but I thought that we should look at our objectives for 2023 to 24 and decide what we want to have in the wording. And my advice or my recommendation was to change in the section that, so if we look at our objectives, it says to provide advice and recommend to the City Council concerning opportunities to make Barrie a more age-friendly community, focused on the services, roles, and responsibilities within the City of Barrie's jurisdiction relating to housing, transportation, communication, and civic participation. So I was going to ask if we could look at maybe changing that to provide advice and recommendations to City Council concerning opportunities to make the City of Barrie a more senior-friendly community. In that it would encompass the age-friendly plan, but it wasn't specific to the age-friendly plan. So, like your ideas or thoughts on that. Did anybody have any thoughts about the objectives?
Well, it's kind of hard coming back from COVID. Everything is so out of sync
Yeah.
that I think we need to figure out what normal is and then where we want to go from there.
Yeah, and the only, what I was trying to emphasize is that we, as a committee, our focus is seniors in the community as opposed to the age-friendly plan, which encompasses seniors as well. But Anne Marie, you had a comment.
So maybe this dovetails a little bit into the previous conversation, but around an objective, I think if we formalize that an objective this year is to actually get a status update on the progress against the plan, then it ties into the need for some staff resources, whether it be across departments, to kind of say, what is the city doing on transportation aligned to the plan? Because it might hit a different department than what is the city doing around housing, right? So that will then enable us maybe to make a global objective commentary back, which is continue to advocate for subsidized programs and services that support seniors so that the city continue with the intention of maintaining the property tax deferral for seniors, that the city continue, even knowing that transit doesn't pay for itself, continue to offer free transit on Thursdays for seniors. So are there things that we want to be deliberate about protecting, knowing that we're also coming back into a bit of a recovery with financial pressures? To say that these are things that are not on the table around future budget changes.
Yeah.
I would then also say as an objective, so the status of the age-friendly community plan being that one piece around getting the current state, so at least that work can be done, and the next term of this committee has a really clear understanding of priorities and areas of focus and where you want to push council on some pieces. But then I would say, what is that outreaching piece that ties into the media communication civic engagement? And I would almost like to hear from Heather to say, are there things at Park Place that you're hearing and seeing that we need to support attending to? Evan has got some great social media and programming through the Gilbert Center for seniors. Are we as a collective enabling one point of access to that information? Is it through Parkview? Is it through the city website? Because I would love to say that there's a lot of really great resources out there. And unless you find the Gilbert Center Facebook page or the Alzheimer Facebook page, where is our one-stop shopping focused on something that's topical to seniors? And so if it's a Parkview website through the city, great. If not, let's take the time and look at Aurelia and say, on one page, there's 6 key links. And one is, if you've got a question, launch it. That could be very low intensity. And then maybe it's something that's not a high work effort, that every 3 months we go in and we pull the themes tied to what we're hearing back to those emails. And so it's, what do you want to hear? What activities are you interested in? What are your needs? And that could be a really great access to information for both Service Barrie and for our committee about where are seniors finding gaps in access to resources.
See, our actual mandate includes seniors housing and related planning matters, transportation, communication, and civic participation by seniors. So that is the main mandate. And then our objectives come down from that. But in order to establish an objective, I would agree with the fact that we have to look at it annually and not as something you do for 4 years, like you're updating that annually. So what I was striving for was an objective that had a more open-ended, it was more open, so that if you said to make Barrie, the city of Barrie, a more senior-friendly community, then that meant that our objective could look at any of the areas that you were talking about, that we could take that as a focus for the year, or we could say that this year, when we're going to look at what is going to make Barrie more senior friendly, our focus this year is going to be these items, okay? Rather than strictly the age-friendly plan, because there may be things that aren't on the age-friendly plan that we really want to look at. And by saying age-friendly plan, we're sort of restricting ourselves to that plan and not opening us up to other areas of need within the seniors community in Barrie, which could be, could be things that relate to the Gilbert Center. It could be things that relate to some of the topics we're going to hear about, geriatric services. It could be healthcare items. It could be another broad spectrum of things that maybe the age-friendly plan doesn't address. So I think that's what I was thinking about. And in order to move forward with a media plan, that has to be what we want to live with in order to develop that media plan. So that's why it's important for us to determine whether we want to leave that the way it is or change it.
And I know we keep talking about a media plan, but often that's, that's a tool that supports a strategy. And so sometimes I'm not sure we've addressed, the need yet for a media plan. Communications is important, but I'm concerned sometimes that we get so caught up in communicating, but we haven't really spent the time to get the information to say, this is what we've done, this is where we're going, and this is clearly the position of the committee. And then that informs your key messages for that media plan, and some of those pieces. Because I guess I would say, to the point of the age-friendly community plan is one, if I took a really simplistic look at those 4 objectives in our mandate, then I would say, if we want to look at smart, reasonable, like timely, efficient things that we could do, we could look at housing and planning and say to staff, what objectives out of that plan that tie to housing are we doing? And that's something that we pull and focus on more formally. And what are those programs and services a city is doing that support seniors tied to housing, and how do we ensure that continues? Civic participation could be, where do people go in the city to engage in programs and services targeted to seniors? And can we do something to support centralization of where individuals can post for free in a location? And is that the city's website? Or are we already doing that and that's working well? Do you know what I mean?
I don't disagree with what you're saying. We have developed a tool, the little card that we developed, and the screen to be at events and that to promote the committee. One of the biggest things that as a committee we aren't doing, and that is getting input from the community seniors. We aren't, if we're developing a focus, we need input from people in the community, and without some sort of direction as to how we go about obtaining that input, which is what the media plan was to help us with, is how do we go out and engage the seniors to know what is important to them. We aren't really moving forward as a committee because we're just bringing our own ideas. And I think we need more than just our own ideas in order to fully engage the seniors, and also to do what the seniors in Barrie want, as opposed to just what we want. Anyway, Molly, you had your hand up.
Yes, I do. I think the first thing we have to consider about communication is not to use online. We have just stated that so many seniors do not have that knowledge, capacity, whatever you want to call it. And yet I keep hearing, well, we could get them onto their website and this and that and the other. And no, we can't do that. Not in my opinion, anyway. As to, I have picked up, and I don't know if this is the right place to mention it, I was downtown on Bayfield Street the other day, and there were some people there, and we were passing the area that has a sign up, say, site for affordable housing. And they were laughing. And they were saying, is that thing ever going to be built? It's been up there for ages, hasn't it? And we keep hearing about, well, we need the land and we need this and we need that. That seems to be a site that's not happening. I also found out, I still call it the BAX bus service, does not come to the entrance to Victoria Village at 146 Toronto Street. They have their reasons. I have heard a couple, one being that there is a big bump on the street that prevents their vans coming in. But the people who live at 146th Street, Toronto Street, have to walk and travel all through the building to get to one of the addresses on Ross Street. The other thing I've noticed is, how can we get to the provincial government about not expecting seniors to communicate with them online? Because, as an example, I had to renew my driver's license recently. I had to make an appointment, and I did it online. There was no other way. And yes, I could do that, but as a matter of principle and to support seniors who can't, I refuse to do it. We are now going to get a refund for the amount we paid for stickers for our license plates. We have to communicate online as to what our address is. There is no phone number. These are the needs of seniors, not just in Barrie, unfortunately, but through the whole province. Anyway, I don't know that.
No, that's a great point, Molly. And I guess, how do you feel, and how do the other committee members feel, that we can obtain that kind of information from seniors without being out and amongst seniors? Now, Gwen, you have CARP, so you have a tool that you can gain input from.
Yes.
And the committee has to be able to bring that feedback back for discussion. So how are we as a committee going to go out and get that feedback?
So for our seniors community fund, that is raising money to help seniors living at or below the poverty line, the biggest problem was finding the recipients because they're not on social media. We ran an ad in the Barrie Advance on Thursday, and I thought I would be inundated with calls, and I haven't received one. I thought maybe we could reach them through the Barrie Advance, because these recipients obviously don't have money for fancy phones or Wi-Fi or whatever. But I haven't even had one call from that ad. I thought I would be inundated because we're offering $100 to $500 to these people for their needs, as long as they can prove their income. It didn't work. Well, it hasn't worked yet. I don't know whether it was because it was top left, page 6. Maybe it needed to be on page 1 or 2. I don't know. But I think it's a growing problem. And I get calls a lot because I'm Barrie. I get calls from all over thinking they're reaching CARP head office, because Barrie chapter comes up first when they do a search. And this is an ongoing problem. You're absolutely right, Donna. Now, we could, I think I could through CARP, we could do it through Alzheimer's, Red Cross, through all our people. We could ask them to try and do a survey from their members, to find out what they think, and ask them to ask their neighbors what they think. Because with COVID, we've been separated, is the best way I can explain it.
Yeah.
We're not out and about. We haven't been going to fairs. We haven't been doing all the things we normally do. And I think we need to get these people out of their houses and back into walking and physical and mental engagement again. I think it's people have got in ruts, and I think we really have to try to connect with them. So maybe Evan has an idea. I need help to figure it out.
Evan, go ahead.
So I think there are a couple things I want to address. First of all, I think I agree with Anne Marie that we really need to have a centralized network of contact, of senior services, of seniors programs, of long-term care facilities, retirement homes. There needs to be some sort of centralization of information. And I feel like if we can get that, and then we can do a little bit of outreach and reach one person from every agency, for example, it's seniors are a notoriously difficult population to connect with. And I think we're also getting bogged down in focusing on, should we do a website or should we do something else? We can take a multi-pronged approach and say, okay, maybe we need a website portal. Maybe we also need our own Facebook page where people can reach us, where we can post stuff about various community events that are happening, things like that. But also maybe create a phone line where people can connect with us, create a paper survey that can be put in places like City Hall, in community centers, things like that. And so we're looking at like, okay, well, should we do it online? Well, that's not accessible. The way to make it more accessible is to create more options. So, having them at libraries, things like that. So, offering things like tech literacy sessions, be they webinar or in person. I know a lot of libraries do free tech literacy assistance. I think that people just get lost in like, well, I don't really know where to connect. So if I don't see it on the City of Barrie website, then I'm not going to keep looking. I think, and the Snow Angels presentation, I think it's a similar thing, that if people can't connect with somebody quickly, then they're going to give up. They're not going to go back to that website and try again. Maybe I'm just, my own program is struggling with things like outreach and reaching community members. And it's our solution so far has been to do a real outreach push, basically spending hours on Google looking at every possible agency that might be able to connect us with a potential participant and sending our program information to them directly. It's a lot of work. I'm not suggesting that that's something that we need to do here, but maybe invite, community agencies voluntarily to say, hey, look, we have this new Facebook page where we're trying to connect seniors within the City of Barrie. I'm just throwing out a few ideas, but I think we're getting bogged down into saying, let's just do this one way to reach out to people or to have people reach out to us. And it needs, yeah, go ahead, please.
I just need to clarify. That's not what the point of a media, talking to someone from media, is that we need to find out what we can do, okay, and have someone come in and give us advice on that. So that was part of the reason. But when we had a short meeting last year with a media person from the city, and their point was that until we know what we stand for through our mandate and objectives, you can't go out and develop a media plan because you don't have a focus. So you have to have your focus first and then develop your media plan. So that's why I was trying to clarify our mandate and our objectives so that we could develop a media plan. And you're absolutely right, Evan. It's a difficult situation with seniors. You're absolutely right. And the COVID has, as Gwen has said, made it even more difficult. So you're absolutely right. But I wanted to bring someone in to help us to think about how we could do it. But they said we need to do these other things first. So
okay, but maybe for a focus or a mandate would be to connect seniors in multiple ways. I think that could be one piece. For me personally, I think I know that transportation is free on Thursdays. I think lowering the cost for seniors for public transportation on all of the other days would be another great start. It's only 25 cents lower than the full fare. And I think it would be great if they could somehow get some sort of subsidy or grant to lower that even further. I think in terms of mandates, they're looking for, and I hate to say it, buzzwords, words like accessibility, words like connection, words like community. And we've got to hit those points. So I'm sorry I babbled on for so long where I was sort of
okay. So in our mandate, okay, that's a great start. Okay, that's a great place to help us. In our mandate right now is seniors housing and planning matters, transportation, communication, and civic participation. Is everybody thinking that's a good mandate? When?
Yes, I had another thought though. Can I just take a minute?
Way.
So June, you're talking about seniors,
Yeah.
right? Thursday is free bus rides. What if we could put together an event down at the waterfront, say, on a Thursday, and we had invitations that we handed out through all our different Allendale and everybody head off through CARP, through Red Cross, through everybody. What if we were to hand out all this information and say, pass this along? We want seniors to come and attend, and we want them to come with their concerns and to tell us what they need and what they want. What if we could hold an event? Maybe we couldn't go overboard, but we could have free pop or something, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking it'll be nice weather, would get people out.
That was a discussion item that I have put on our April agenda.
Okay.
Okay, so in April, we can sit down and sort that out. But that's again, going back to a media plan. So that would be an item in a media plan. Yeah, and then also we had talked about going to the ward meetings and being a guest at the ward meeting to talk about the seniors committee and let people know about us. So again, that's another thing as part of your media plan. But again, if I step back, according to the media people, we have to have a focus. So if people say, what do you stand for? What is the committee all about? We have to make sure that is information that we can hand out and say, this is what the committee stands for. Pat, you had a question or your comment?
Didn't have a question, I have a comment. I think we really need to remember that the last 2 years have been a write-off in terms of connecting with seniors. We're
That's
not
right.
allowed to go out, and many of these people don't go out and are still afraid to go out.
Yeah.
I know my mother's a senior and she lives in her own condo, so she doesn't qualify for Gwen's program. But the only places she does go is the doctor, the dentist. I think we need to be maybe looking at those areas for people who are not online, buses, things that people, seniors without communication, actually do. They all go to doctors still. So maybe we're missing, you know, an in-person opportunity that way, because it's still going to be a little while, I think, before a lot of seniors are very comfortable going out into the public.
Mm-hmm. So that would be something we would want the media person to help us develop a plan, and that comment would come up. But I keep going back, because before you can develop a media plan and you're going to go out and tell seniors who you are and try to give them information, like they're going to say, what are you? Who are you? And we have to have that clearly identified, you know. I mean, that's why I keep going back to the mandate and saying, the mandate as it stands now, is that what we want to leave it at? Or do we want to make any changes to it? Molly, and then Pat.
I think the mandate we have is giving us enough trouble. I wouldn't want to see us take on anything else. I think the three things that we have are challenging enough.
Okay, and then the objectives? What about the objectives? Because the objective includes the age-friendly plan or age-friendly community.
As it pertains to seniors.
It doesn't say that. It says to promote advice and recommendations to City Council concerning opportunities to make Barrie a more age-friendly community. And that's why I was suggesting that maybe we change that to the seniors-friendly community. But again, that's up to the committee if they want to make that kind of
I think Barrie needs to be an age-friendly city, but we have a great responsibility to make sure that it is particularly a seniors friendly. And we are, and to do that, we have to be in touch with the seniors and have an understanding of their perspective on life. Unfortunately, so many of the seniors I encounter, and of course I live among them, they want everything done for them.
Some of them do. Pat, you had another comment?
I did. I actually think maybe our mandate is a little too broad, like too many options, and we need to simplify it a little bit. Like our mandate is to help seniors. It's not, the other things are our objectives. Our mandate is to help seniors communicate with the city of Barrie.
That's a good
Housing
point.
and transport and all that, that's our objectives. So
That's
I think maybe we're just taking too much as a mandate. Our
Great.
mandate should be very simplified, I think.
Good. So if we were to change the mandate, and it says represent and provide advice on Barrie seniors' perspectives in municipal matters relating to, well, we could just cut that off and say to represent and provide advice to Barrie, advice to the city of Barrie on seniors'
Matters.
matters.
Just make it simple, and then your objectives are the rest.
Okay. Gwen?
Donna, I don't think we can change it. That came from the city.
I know, but we can make a recommendation that there was a recommendation made back when this was updated to 2018 to 22. So these objectives were put in 2018 to 2022. So I think we can make a request to revise the terms of reference, and then they would review it and decide if we can change it or not. So we can recommend things.
I wonder if it would get carried over into informing the formal terms of reference for the next term, just considering where we're at in November, kind of being the end.
Yeah.
So I would almost say it's great to identify, this committee's vision for the focus of seniors. And if there's a recommendation to make sure that, the terms of reference for the next committee is maybe more broad. So maybe it is hypothetically an objective, so we don't lose the age-friendly plan, is that city staff provide an update at the beginning of term and midterm on the status of progress against the age-friendly community plan. And so there's a responsibility for there to be staff resources and an update. So then it comes before the committee, and the committee can then say, we don't like where this is going, or we're feeling that something's in jeopardy here. But maybe more of our concerted effort can be on those things that we can have maybe more tangible tie to, which is a communication and civic participation, especially coming out of COVID. So those things like, where do we get input from as a collective members that are working with or have an association to programming for seniors? But then also, is it to say, we want to launch an info@agefriendlybarrie.ca. So there is, for those that are online or for community programs and services connected to seniors, they have a way to easily share information that says, this is what's working well, this is what we want to see changed. And maybe that allows a bit of a communication pathway. And then looking at, from a media piece, maybe it's knowing even those around the table are using Facebook and other pieces, what's working well, but how can we help as a city of Barrie connect seniors to the work that you do? Like Gwen, your bursary and program and funding, I think is a gem that many might not really know about, and we can probably do a lot better job connecting people to you. So where is the hub that we want to be seeing continues to get added resources to? Is that a page of the City of Barrie Facebook? Are we asking the city to start, a hashtag so anyone that's posting programs actually can streamline it to seniors? Or is it the Parkview Place 55, or is it the City of Barrie webpage? But where can we actually support and push people to go?
Okay. Can I make a suggestion? Is there anyone here in the committee interested in maybe after this meeting, having a discussion about documenting the changes that we want to put onto this and then bringing it back for the next meeting?
Sure.
I would be willing.
Because I think we need to bring something back for the committee or have the committee review something that would be how we would want to suggest a change to this terms of reference, so that as you know, Anne Maria said, there's a new, in the fall, there will be a changeover, and that the people coming on for the next 4 years can look at it, and either this could be approved before they come on, or they could look at it and make recommendation to make the change. I think we're talking a lot about it, but I think we need to cement it in some wording that we can all look at. Does everybody agree or no?
Well, it's always good to review. I mean, we should be doing that.
Okay, Anne-Marie?
I was just going to say, I've gone down a bit of a rabbit hole on Aurelia's, because you can even sign up to subscribe to a weekly bulletin and select what you want. And so perhaps before the next meeting, I'll reach out to Aurelia and just see how their new platform is working and how they're managing the seniors page around the info, and how that's, you know, what's the intensity of looking at that, and the benefit of it being created. And they've made a lot of progress over the past year through engagement. So if a value, I can at least see if those tools are working well and if that's something to consider.
Yeah. See, I think this committee was initially, the age-friendly plan was built on engagement with the community, and then
Yes, civic participation.
There wasn't civic participation after that. That's where I think we're lacking.
Yes,
to a great degree. And in order to you know, continue to engage the community, so that we do move forward with bringing issues that are sensitive to them, we can't do that unless we engage the committee. But I agree with what Pat says as well, that the last 2 years have been hard because of COVID. So now's an opportunity to maybe look at moving forward with that. So for next meeting, I wanted Brandy to bring on someone from the media department to talk to us about how to structure a media plan. I think we should still go ahead with that, because I think we really need to understand what we can and can't do, and what areas we may be able to develop a plan to reach out to the community. Are you still interested in that before we move forward with it?
yes, but I also want civic participation on there.
Yeah, so that's why we need to talk to someone who can help us decide how to go about doing it, right? And the other issue is we're an advisory committee. So to go out and get information from the community and advice from the community, you know, in regards to the city, we have to have a way of bringing that back and putting it into some format that can be presented to the city. I mean, in order to be an advisory committee and gain advice, we still have to be able to have the formal ways or the tools to bring it back to the city appropriately. And we can't overstep our boundaries as an advisory committee. And that's another thing that I'm concerned about, because we have to do it within the terms of reference that we have.
So, I mean,
It's a hard one, right?
well, we can go in so many different directions, but for me, it's always starting with coming from working in communications. I struggle with, you know, if we just ask a bit about, if we're giving the direction to say, help us communicate, but we don't know what we want to communicate, is there a different framing that we want, if you want to proceed with asking about media and communications, is more about what are the tools available to us through the city of Barrie that we can leverage? So I think that would help to give staff, rather than them expecting to receive key messages from us and then come up with a plan, maybe just that could help more about bringing awareness to us about what could be leveraged. So how does a calendar get leveraged? What are mailouts? Are they an affordable way of getting into all households and businesses across the city if we added a stuffer to a water bill or to a property tax? How do we identify senior specific activities in the online bulletin? So how does the city promote and market seniors that's easy to see and catch? So is it a color coding that's always in that calendar of activities where someone can say, right, I don't have to go through the listing. How do we help to market and advertise subsidized programs and services for seniors? Because right now I could go to transit and maybe find it there. I could go to housing and find it there. But where do we specifically say seniors is a subpopulation group? And here are all the links that are otherwise decentralized on our website and very difficult to find. That to me might move us to a more productive outcome, at least around saying, how can we reorganize or leverage what's there around engagement and access? And I guess the other comment I would have is, wouldn't it be great to have an annual town hall for seniors? And that might actually be where we can facilitate what the city does for counselors. But I would say, Donna, getting into every town hall might not be really effective because some people might not have questions for you and it's going to be a really tight time frame. What about doing something where we're bringing in Barrie Police and the Seniors Abuse Prevention Network onto key messages and what's available? What about bringing Parkview? What about highlighting transportation, housing, where you can get involved? And then members of this committee can have a plug about senior specific activities happening. That then gets recorded and you've got a legacy piece that even televisions in family health team doctor's offices can play. You've got resources that maybe Rogers will pick up on and play on TV. So we might be able to kind of create an asset through doing a town hall that talks a bit about our mandate around what's there in the city for you to access, but can be revisited many times.
That's a great start. And I think a town hall item with for seniors with a speaker would draw more people, because if you had the police or EMS or some form of service provider there to present and then have the town hall, it makes it more interesting for people.
And you can leverage, this new technology too called Menti. Some of us may have used it on online conferences, but it's where you can do a point in time. So you might not get into this Q&A, but we could look at facilitated questions, but we could also get feedback in time. So did you know City of Barrie Transit's free on Thursday for seniors? Yes or no? And then we get an automatic feedback to say, we need to communicate more about this, or it's an in-time education piece. Then we could also ask, if you could add subsidized transit on one other day of the week, which would it be? And how much would make a difference? So we could leverage a town hall with a bit of a Q&A that almost gets us an in-time survey.
Right, that's a perfect idea, because then you could ask all the questions.
Exactly what I was saying.
Do you know about the website? Do you know about this? Okay.
So I would frame it back to the city to say, we want to do a town hall. How can you help make that happen? And what are all the resources and tools we could use and promote around civic engagement and communications, and have them come to us with a bit more information.
And that's where actually you could bring in groups like the Gilbert Center, like the CNIB, like different groups that Alzheimer's, whatever, that you could have at the town hall to say, these are the resources that we have in our community, and people can speak to them, or they could be present there. And then if people want to ask them questions, they can be available as well. So I think I get the feeling from what you're saying, and I sort of really like the idea, is that the seniors committee becomes a committee that not only looks at different issues that they want to pursue, but also they look at some way of bringing those issues to the community as well as getting issues from the community. So it's a two-way doing things. So if Brandy, can you come back on for a minute? Thank you. So I guess for this media person that we were thinking about for next month to come and talk to us as a community, as a committee, maybe that is the two things we want to talk to them about is how can we as a committee develop a town hall meeting that can help us present who the committee is, but also present other seniors issues and senior services in the community. And also how can we, during the seniors month, develop a seniors event, possibly somewhere in the city, like the waterfront or somewhere, to draw seniors in and again, in some form of a town hall, speak to them and talk to them and get their feedback as to how the city is doing. In regards to that, we would need some sort of listing that could be put together to demonstrate all the services that the city has for seniors. So maybe we could phrase it that way instead of trying to focus on our mandate and what the committee stands for. But that's still something I think down the road we really need to clarify anyway.
If I might interject, it's Lucia. Thank you, Anne-Marie, for bringing up the idea of a yearly town hall. That was on my mind as well. We have a town hall and community consultations every 5 years when we're creating a new strategic plan, which we're about to do now at CNIB. One of the best formats that I've seen here in the city of Barrie was a community engagement workshop that was put on by PSEN, Prevention of Seniors Elder Abuse. We had them present a couple of months to us. I'm on that committee too. I always just call it the Anti-Elder Abuse Committee, but it's PSEN. And they had a series of presenters, and I think we could go in by, I don't want to put the horse ahead of the cart, but the cart ahead of the horse, sorry. We could have the similar model where there were key essential services that presented 20-minute presentations and took questions. So the police could come and give their expertise on what they see as some of the seniors' issues. Elder Abuse Committee could present their condensed format as well. And then there are just so many that could come in here. So we would really, I think, have to seriously consider how many partners we could have in presenting, but that could rotate year after year. But, you know, similar to what we did do when we had the initial public consultation, when we put together the age-friendly committee. And I think that was the same model that we could do, because that really was just about keeping our ear to the ground about what the issues were. That was the grassroots original town hall that we used to get everyone's ideas out. So I completely support that idea, Anne-Marie, and I think that really covers that dilemma that we had where, you know, in order to represent and advise, we need to keep our ear to the ground. And I think that would be a super way to do it. And year after year, it will just become very well known that that is the forum and opportunity that we have.
So it's a fair.
Like a fair, I guess it's like a fair, but really where people do ask questions. I don't see the room set up in the traditional fair way that we have. More of an educational format with opportunity for questions. I think it does take us sort of back to where we started, or close to that.
I think, Lucia, you probably hit the nail on the head there too, because if you're doing a Q&A, people will let us know that they don't know about certain services. And then that will help us to domino into having a speaker for the next town hall. and bring that forward so that people can hear from those services. So, and I would hope that we could do a spring and a fall. We could do maybe twice a year, do a town hall to try to engage as many people who can't make it at one time and maybe can make it another. I know timing is always.
Well, I would suggest, Donna, that if we're looking at Seniors Month in June, and if we hope to do one this year, the planning would have to start yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And
All right.
considering COVID, if we could do it outside, that would be better.
Weather permitting.
Well, actually, the Meridian Center is probably, I don't know whether that's with the traffic, but that might be an area where you could set up chairs. I don't know, but it has to be somewhere where you have like the tools, the microphones and other tools that you need in order to facilitate a speaker. So, but anyway, that's something we could talk to this medium person when they come next month. So
Molly has her hand up.
I'm sorry, Molly, go ahead.
That's right. I don't know if any of you remember living libraries. It occurred to me that this would be a good format for this. Each organization has a table, and the people who are attending circulate the tables to learn information from each person. It seems to me it would avoid constant speeches from umpteen people, which can, in my opinion, can tend to put seniors asleep. Just something to think about.
And I don't want to say, I don't support it in person, but from a timeline and an ease of launching, and then, really not getting into permits or logistics or equipment with June around the corner, is maybe to stay open to still looking at a town hall style that's virtual, because it would be easy to organize. And then you've got at least a piece that will get recorded and can be used on the city's YouTube. We can ask all counselors to post it on their social media. We can maybe start pushing that out as a communication resource that gets individuals interested, and then says, email us with questions. Did you agree with this? What was most valuable? So it might become a mechanism to continue to use the information. Although I love it in person.
You're not going to get the people you want.
Yeah. Oh, we're talking about the ones without email.
I know, and I don't think it will hit everyone either, from a day, from a time, from an accessibility, so it's also looking at, what are the pros and cons of June being virtual versus in person, and then a fall in person when maybe there's more time to set something up. But it just might be a consideration around, I'd hate to say we think that we do nothing if we can't do it in person in time.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, I guess this,
oh, sorry, Donna. If we could also consider the opportunity for doing a hybrid, if there were some component of in-person as well as continue with the virtual, because what I do is I work with all the people who resist technology, and within 20 minutes I can usually turn those diehard anti-technology people towards saying, yes, I'll try it. And these are people who are going to really struggle to learn how to use it. There are misconceptions out there that, yes, there are people who just absolutely do not want to use technology, but most of it is just based in fear. And I think there are ways we can reach out to seniors who do want to try it, who just need that little boost, and know that there's support out there for them to learn it. So I would just not rule out virtual. I know we're all kind of Zoom fatigued in many ways, but I just think let's not rule it out and consider that hybrid option.
Yeah, and I wonder on that, Lucia, like, how do we make sure we can get it recorded, but it could be live, just like a City of Barrie Council meeting,
like through YouTube,
and people
or
could,
Facebook.
people could come to the library and sit and watch and still engage. So maybe there's multiple locations where different groups that are connected to seniors can host a space of, 20 to 40 people safely, right? Like the Alzheimer's boardroom for 12 people, or the library for community, but where we can actually make it accessible in an electronic way too. So we capture the information without eliminating people's abilities to be in person.
Right.
Okay, Evan, and then Gwen. Evan?
Just a note, I don't know how many people know about it or whether it's particularly relevant, but Wasaga Beach is doing an in-person seniors active living and info fair. That's going to be happening in June. Just if folks are at agencies that might want to table at the fair, I have contact information for the person who is running it. So I know it doesn't necessarily touch on specifically what we're doing, but to start getting our message out, I don't think it's realistic to do a full-on in-person thing in June if we're not starting planning until probably April at this point. But my point is to maybe look around at other outdoor events that are happening in the community and take our message to those places. Instead of having everyone come to us, we might have to go out to them for the time being. I don't know if anything like that is happening in Barrie this summer. I know Huntsville up in Muskoka is doing an active living expo for seniors as well. So it's just looking around for things like that as opportunities to get our foot in a few doors.
That's a great point, because we did have, when we had our little information cards made up, we also had a screen made up so that we could take it to those kinds of events. So that would work out perfectly. I was just going to also, Gwen, you had something you wanted to say.
What if we could get Rogers involved? Because if they were involved and they recorded it, like they replay those all the time, and perhaps people would see it on TV where they don't have a web, like where they can't have emails and all that stuff. They're not on Wi-Fi, but maybe they have a TV and maybe they would see it there.
Okay, that's a good question for the media person when they come next month.
There's a good example of that they do in Midland. A good partnership they have with a presenter series out in Midland.
Mm-hmm. Well, those are all excellent questions. And I think if we have a person come next month, then they would be able to tell us what we can or have available to us to do as part of trying to engage with the community. So maybe that's a good point too. If you have questions, because we know we have someone coming, write down your questions while you're thinking about them. And then when that person comes next month, we can ask those questions, and maybe then we can get some answers that would help us to narrow down what we can actually do. And it's interesting too, if you look at the age-friendly plan, a lot of the things that were written down as ongoing or not investigated are things that have to do with computers and technology for seniors. So I think if Brandy can get us back on, find out some answers in regards to the plan, that would be helpful, because that's an area that seems to right now at our meeting be very prevalent, that the seniors in the community, there's a difference between those who can and can't use computers. So I think we have a lot of questions to ask next month, and I think that's a good starting point. And some of the discussion today was just absolutely excellent. And I think that we're going in the right direction. And I believe that once we talk to someone, we can get some more answers and move towards.
Can I ask one more question? I just don't want people to forget that there's also National Seniors Day. And this year it's October 1st. It's a Saturday. That could be a nice, amount of time leading up that we could prepare something. And also if we could just sort of clarify what we're calling a senior, because you've got the 55 plus centers, then you hear 60, then you hear 65. For us, what is it? What's the age?
I think it's 65, isn't it? Like, that's
interesting point.
I
too,
asked that question when I first started, and I think I was told 65.
That might
Yeah.
also be an area we can make a recommendation, right? So as we launch this out, so, you know, I'm seeing some identify 65 in the health sector. We've identified 65, but if you're of Indigenous, it's been 55. So there are different considerations that I've seen, but maybe worth a look to kind of say, you know, if we've got the 55 plus, is that a different lens of being inclusive around access to information that benefits individuals?
Right. There's a lot of
Paulette
people.
has her hands up.
Somebody got their hand up?
Paulette has her hand up.
I can't see you. sorry.
Paulette?
Go ahead, Paulette.
Okay, you had gone into detail, going back to the age-friendly plan. You had gone into detail and summarized it, and it's just wonderful. I too spent a great deal of time going through it, and there was also many things that I thought that could be changed or added to. But the only thing is, after listening to all of it from the beginning with the summary plan, I'm not clear on whether we actually can have an input on it, or whether we can ask for a change, or is it now completely out of our hand when it comes to that summary plan?
Now, are you talking about the age-friendly plan?
Yes.
We have asked Brandy to go back and find out about moving forward, having somebody from the city who will be responsible for updating and moving forward to find out what's actually going to happen with the plan. So I think when she comes back next month with a response to our request, we'll know more about what's happening with the age-friendly plan. But right now, we don't know.
Okay, thank you.
We feel that it should be followed up on, and that we need to know who's going to do that.
And it also needs some updating also. Just a quick example is the cross, for instance, at the 5 points when they have the walk signal, like it's 16 seconds. And I can't tell you how many people have said to me, how did they expect me to get across there in 16 seconds? And yet in other areas where it's such a tiny little thing, walk across, it's still 16 seconds. And that's just a small example.
Okay, good point.
So is that Paulette?
Yes.
It's Anne Marie.
Thank you.
Paulette. Can you email that to me? Because that's something that would catch the attention of the accessibility committee. And I know they're looking at light signals and timing. So I don't want you just to comment and that not go anywhere. I think there's a potential for that to get raised to take a look at.
Okay, thank you. I will.
Excellent point. Thank you very much. This has been a great meeting. Appreciate everybody attending. And again, write down your questions for the meeting for next month. And I'll talk to Molly and Gwen about the mandate, and we can move forward in trying to determine how we're going to get out and talk to our seniors. So thank you again. Anne Marie?
I was just wondering if I could put an item on the next meeting's agenda.
You want to send that off to me and Brandy, and we'll take a look at it. We have a couple of items for next month. Just check with her and find out what we got on the agenda to start with. But yeah, just send it. Anybody that has a request for items on the agenda, just send them to Brandy and me, and we'll look at trying to get them on. No problem. Any other comments, questions? Evan, it's nice to have you with us. I don't remember seeing you last month, but anyway, thank you again for attending, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I may have missed last month. I'm a caregiver for my own senior mother, so it's
Difficult
sometimes meetings can be
yeah.
tricky. So
yeah, well, you were missed. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. Okay, thanks again, everybody. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Brandy.
Quick question. I just wanted to make sure that the item for the seniors events and information, that nobody needed to speak up on that, or if that's an item that we can defer to the next meeting.
Sorry. Yeah, we usually do a round table. What's happening in your different areas. So my mistake on that. So does anybody have an update in their own area that they want to tell the committee about? Gwen?
Well, I've already kind of addressed it. Our seniors community fund, we are getting back into I guess, working at it again because I was sort of sidelined with co-housing. But we are not only looking for recipients, we are looking for donors. And I would help any appreciation of you putting it out in the community would be greatly helpful to us. So just keep it in mind. Any thoughts anybody wants to send to me, that would be appreciated on how to do this because I'm sort of tearing my hair out. Thank you.
Molly?
Gwen, I'm not sure that the advance is delivered to every household the way it used to be, which may explain why you aren't getting feedback. Just a thought.
By the way, I should say that that was a free ad that Barrie Advance gave us.
Good.
Okay, does any other community member have any update on their own area of responsibility?
I could see, oh,
sorry.
I'm having an issue with my camera currently, but if I could just briefly mention that all recreation centers as of March the 1st are moving into a more accessible access into their recreation programs. So pre-registration for most programs, as well as the health screening questions, are removed as of tomorrow, March the 1st. And so it'll feel and look a lot like pre-COVID when you walk into the centers as of tomorrow, March the 1st. Also, most of our programs, not all, but most of our recreation programs, including older adult programs, will have no maximum controls on them. So it'll go back to the typical pre-COVID accessible numbers into our program. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that, that there will be a change starting tomorrow.
Thank you. Anne-Marie, did you have a comment?
Maybe just two quick ones that are top of mind. So often when we, I've done work in food security around seniors in general. It's not just specific to seniors, but maybe just another opportunity as a reminder, if you can share when Urban Pantry does their monthly food basket for $17, $10 for students, but for $17. And while it is a pickup, we do have volunteers tied to that can help with delivery. So if you know of a senior that can benefit from access to affordable fresh fruit and vegetables, we're also seeing a lot of giving back. So if there are seniors that also cannot afford that but could benefit, we could perhaps look at going through Urban Pantry to identify those seniors and arranging a delivery to them. There are many that get donated back to then get redistributed to those that could benefit. And then lastly, there's lots of interesting upgrades happening and focus around the Legion. And so while the focus is usually around veteran support, there are a lot of social activities in that. And so I would identify that if the Legion isn't a partner, maybe doing an outreach or thinking about them around events or access or opportunities there might be something that creates new relationships.
That Urban Pantry, there's a website, isn't there, that
Yep.
people can
Yeah, and a Facebook page and a website, but basically it is urbanpantrybarrie.com. And it's a 1 month of pickup, but you can also donate 3 months of a good food box. And then that can all be identified around it just giving back or making sure seniors know that if they need access to that food, that that can be arranged for them.
Perfect, thank you. Anybody that I don't see have any comments? No, okay. No other comments?
There's a hand up, I think, that just went, but I can't see who it is.
I don't know.
It's
Paulette.
What? Okay.
Can I just, has there been any talk about when, or the anticipation of when the in-person meetings will take place?
At this point here, we don't have a date set as of yet. So unfortunately, it's going to continue on a status quo with virtual for now.
Okay, fine, thank you.
All right, great. Did I miss anybody? Are we all okay? Great. Thank you so much again. Thank you for helping me too to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Everybody have a great day. Okay, thank you again.
Thanks, Donna.